preview. Arsenal versus West Ham, London derby, Premier League, of course. And it's, one that, I'm going to be honest, brutally honest, it's one I never really look forward to. Arsenal away. Never have, never do. Over the years, I think I've just been scarred by them too many times. And it's just one of those fixtures. Also, my missus is Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? Missus, and also I've got my brother, my stepdad, they're all Arsenal. So I'm surrounded by a lot of Arsenal people. I've got Arsenal at work. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of those clubs that I'd never really look forward to playing. At home, a little bit different. I feel a little bit more confident, but away, our record, especially under Moyes, is never great. So I've got to admit, it's one of those fixtures on the list I just kind of not really look forward to that much, although it's a bit sad to say because it's a London derby, but it's just my natural feeling of it. Also, apologies, this video is slightly late. Today, late. I've just been a bit under the weather last couple of days. So, just sort of had to delay getting this video done. Of course, doing our preview, and well, it's a big game, but it's one I think the pressure's more on Arsenal. Before I get into it, though, I just want to say, if you're not a subscriber, please click the subscribe button. It's free to do so, and obviously it helps our channel out, which I appreciate a lot. And of course, click the like button as well on this particular video. It does help us, and we do, it helps grow the channel, so it's really good for us and it keeps us going. So yeah, we do really appreciate it. Right, on to Arsenal then. I mean, a side that are undoubtedly in good shape. They just seem to be they found what they were looking for in Mikel Arteta, I think, in terms of a manager that was able to push them on to compete. Because let's be honest, they've been a pretty shambolic club in a sense, in terms of their competing for titles. I mean, for quite some time, even under Wenger, wasn't it? It would been a long time since Arsenal considered a really big player in the Premier League, and even in Europe. They haven't won a European trophy. And I think they were looking for that manager to sort of push them into that that next stage and start really challenging the elite. And look, they are. There's no two ways about it. Last season, they were excellent. They really, really were. But they collapsed. Towards the end of the season, they did collapse. I think a little bit of lack of maturity, I think, kicked in a little bit with some of their players, which is understandable. They've got a young side. But I think that, to be honest with you, I think they were a little bit guilty, Arsenal, of possibly celebrating too early. I think they got a little bit carried away. I'll talk about it a little bit more as well in a minute, but I think there's just like danger they might be doing that again, just seeing that a little bit creeping in. And I'm not saying that just about the playing stuff. I think the manager as well. Let's not forget, Mikel Arteta is still a young manager. He's not the most experienced. He hasn't been around the block for years and years. So I think sometimes you can see that with him, the way he's antics sometimes on this touchline. I'm not a big fan of it. Not really a big fan of the guy, really. A great manager, don't get me wrong. But I think sometimes you see that in him. I think sometimes he gets so emotional that I just sort of think to myself, that's not good for your team. And I just don't know. That's the only negative I can think about Arsenal. But I will say they are stronger this season. There's a bite about them. There's a nasty edge about them. They know how to win ugly, and I think that is going to help them big time in terms of their quest for wanting to be champions. And look, they could well be that this season. I've got a strong feeling actually they possibly could do it. I think Liverpool are going to push them all the way, and I think Man City will enter the fray again. I'm pretty sure they will start to pick up again, especially when they get their players back. But look, Arsenal's no two ways about it, are stronger, and I've got to say it. Hate saying it, and I really don't like saying this at all. But Declan Rice is a big reason for that as well. We knew. West Ham fans are more than aware of how good Declan Rice is. We've been saying it for a long time. And no one really took any notice today, really, let's be honest. But, when you were talking to people, oh, yeah, no, he's all right. Yeah. I don't think we realised how good he is. And now suddenly, we know what it's like in this football world. Suddenly you got that big 6 badge, you know what I mean? All of a sudden now the whole world goes, oh, what a world-class player he is. It's like, well, he's been world-class for probably about 2 or 3 years, really, in a West Ham shirt prior to his move. So it is what it is. But you can see that he offers that quality, that balance, and he's just an exceptionally gifted player, and we all knew that, and you just knew he would do well. Do you know what I mean? There was never a doubt in my mind wherever he had gone. If he had gone to Man City, Arsenal, Real Madrid, but wherever that guy goes to play his football, right, he's going to be a main player for them and be. He's a future Arsenal captain, and he will no doubt. And my gut feeling is he probably will move on again at some stage. I imagine he will go abroad or something. That's my gut feeling. I might be wrong, but he is just that guy. He's an exceptionally gifted player, and I think that he has added something special to Arsenal, which we knew he would. Look, there's nothing we can do about it. It is what it is, and he got what he wanted out of the move. West Ham got what we wanted. We've got a good lump of money, and we've grown as a club. Arsenal got stronger. I think it's been a win-win-win all round, actually. Obviously, it's never nice to lose a player of Rice's caliber, and he was obviously West Ham captain as well, so it wasn't nice in that regard. But look, we move on, and we've turned him over already this season, so there's no reason why we can't do it again. Carrying on with Arsenal, though, I think looking at it from an outsider, I think they lack that striker. I think that is one of their weaknesses, and I think that's something they need to get addressed. I know they've been heavily linked with Ivan Toney. You can kind of see why. Gabriel Jesus, don't get me wrong, a great player, absolutely wonderfully gifted player. Did very well at Man City, of course. But you kind of got the feeling that the move to Arsenal was his next step in terms of playing regularly, being a first name on the team sheet. The only problem is with Jesus, I think, is one, I don't think he's clinical enough. I think he isn't a natural goal scorer, if that makes sense. He's not a hitman. He's not going to put the ball away 95% of the time. I think he's more of a 60-70% of the time, and I think that's possibly where Arsenal are lacking. Also, I think he's quite injury prone. He just seems to, from what I see, he just seems to have continual injury issues, and I think that's a problem for Arsenal. So that would be my only gripe. If I'm an Arsenal fan looking in, from outside looking in, but if I'm Arsenal, I'm imagining that's probably their weakness this season, probably what they're slightly lacking. If they could just add a player that goes, well, look, I'm going to bag you 25 goals a season, 25, 30 goals a season, then that probably will get them over the line, I think. I think the goalkeeper situation is another one that's puzzled me a little bit with Arsenal. I've not, as I say, I'm not being an Arsenal fan. I'm not close enough to it, but I've not really understood this whole Ramsdale-Raya thing. I feel like it's sort of a little bit of a self-inflicted issue that's been created by Arsenal and possibly the manager. I'm not quite sure because, correct me if I'm wrong, I genuinely felt that Ramsdale was a good goalkeeper for Arsenal last season. He seemed to come in, he had a really strong impact with the club, with the fans. They seemed to like him, and I don't know, he's a bit of a character, and he might have had the odd mistake in him, but ultimately I thought he was a pretty solid goalkeeper. And just sort of, I don't know, he kind of epitomised that sort of new era of Arsenal for me. As I say, when you're sort of outside looking in at Arsenal, you look at this team, I've got this new manager, they've got a very young squad, and that you can see that they've got this sort of bright future. You can see, Arsenal are there for the years now, you know what I mean? Then this isn't just a flash in the pan season where they're going to have a couple of good years and it'll all fall apart. It isn't like that. The team are young, you can see they're going to get better. And I don't know, like Ramsdale for me sort of epitomised that because of the character he was, young keeper. He come from Sheffield United, didn't he? And they picked him out of that. And I don't know, I just found it strange then when we entered this season that Arsenal were then suddenly looking for another goalkeeper, then looking at Raya of Brentford. Of course, Raya being the goalkeeper that he is, you sort of think, well, hang on, he's a first choice keeper. Is he going to be happy playing second fiddle? Well, he's brought him in. He's now come in as first choice. He's now dropped Ramsdale. It just seems like it's caused this unrest and upset within the squad, I imagine. And I don't know. It's something now, you look at Ramsdale and his future's in doubt. I'm not overly sold on Raya, actually. Either. Don't get me wrong, he's a decent enough keeper, but was it worth it for all that? I'm not sure. That's just my feeling. Maybe I'm misreading it, but I feel like that's probably not helped things a little bit this season in terms of the squad harmony. It's probably left a few scratching their heads. I've seen an article, I think it was Ramsdale's dad, I think he did an interview saying that how unhappy his son was and hurt and all this kind of stuff. And, that he hadn't been smiling for a long time, all this kind of stuff. I personally wouldn't want my dad going out publicly and trying to tell me how upset I am and stuff, and trying to, I feel a little bit. But look, that's up to Ramsdale, etc. But look, as I say, I just thought it was a bit of a strange thing from Arteta. Really, I think it's caused a situation that probably just didn't need it. Because, as I say, I thought Ramsdale was doing pretty well. But look, maybe I'm completely wrong in that. There's no doubt about it that Mikel Arteta is a talented manager. He's assistant, wasn't he, at Manchester City under Pep for a little while, and obviously did well there. And he's gone on and done well. He suits Arsenal and whatnot. I'm not a fan of the guy personally. I don't like his antics. I just don't like him. It's just personal preference. But I also get why Arsenal would love him. You know what I mean? If he was a West Ham manager, I think I'd like him. I think I'd like that sort of, he's got that passion and stuff. It's just because I'm on the opposite side. You know, that's natural to have that. We've had it with players and etc. People associated with West Ham that others don't like. Lucas Paqueta, I'm sure, is one now that, you know, many feel the same about. There's a bit of a wind-up merchant. It's just Arteta's that for me, just winds me up a little bit. But at the same time, look, I've got to admire what he's done at Arsenal. I think he's gone in. He's been stern. He's got rid of the issues that were there. Dealt with the big player egos. He's got that sorted out. He's got them playing good football. They look tough. He's got a bite about him, Arteta, hasn't he? He's got that nasty streak about him where you can imagine he plays dirty to win. You know what I mean? I'd love to hear some of the things he says at half time or even pre-match, you know, into his team and what their tactics are. I imagine they're quite, you know, there's a fair bit of the dark arts going on there. Absolutely. And I think that's Arsenal needed that. I mean, I think you need a bit of that if you're going to be champions, if you're going to win things. You've got to learn to win ugly. You've got to learn to play the ref. You've got to learn to. I've said it about West Ham many times that sometimes I think we're too naive. We're too nice. You know, sometimes you don't want to be nice. You've got to play a bit nasty. You are going to war out there, and you've got to try and find ways to win. And I just think that Arsenal, Arteta has given Arsenal that sort of bite that they needed. And there's absolutely no doubt about it that he's an incredibly gifted manager, and you know, Arsenal are doing very well under him, and will no doubt continue to do so. I think, as I say, I think they're a team that's going to be challenging for the next few years at least. They really are. They've got, as I say, just due to the age of the squad and the age of their manager and etc. If they can keep hold of him, then yeah, they'll be up there for a long time. That being said, I've not been overly sold on them this season. I'll be honest. I think they've got away with it a few times. Do you know what I mean? They've not been that great. They've got the results, and so you know they are where they are for a reason. They beat West Ham tonight. They back top of the league. You know, so there's no denying that. But I watched them a few times, Luton away. You know, I thought they were quite fortunate. I think it was Rice, wasn't it? Last minute, 97th minute, I think it might have been even winner. I thought they were very fortunate against Liverpool, to be honest. I thought that they kind of got away with that. I think there was they definitely should have had a penalty, Liverpool, for the handball, in my opinion. And also on top of that, you know, Liverpool at the bar. They were just, I think Arsenal have rode their luck a little bit this season. I think Arsenal fans would probably struggle to disagree with that. There have been some sort of games, but then having said that, I have seen them other games where I thought they were very good. I mean, Brighton at home, they were very dominant. They're a very good side. West Ham are massively up against it tonight. No two ways about it. And even with the earlier game in the season was the Carabao Cup, wasn't it? The game that got us to the quarterfinal that we did so bloody well in. I mean, we beat Arsenal 3-1 at home, and we were brilliant. We were really good that night. But Arsenal, it backfired on what they were planning to do because they effectively rested their key players. They put a few of their players on the bench, and I think in a bit of a cocky sort of lineup, but I think there was certainly an underestimation from Mikel Arteta in terms of what West Ham were going to do that night. And we fully deserved a win. And to be honest, it's actually annoyed. It still bugs me that they scored. You know what I mean? Rock, they scored right at the death. It was Odegaard. And I think, you know, it was in injury time, whatever it was. And it made it 3-1. I just wish it'd been 3-0. Do you ever get that? Sometimes when people score right at the death, you think, oh, it'd be nice to have had a clean sheet. Because really a 3-0 was probably more justified, really, because I thought West Ham played really well that night. But I do think it's one that's not an indicator of how this is going to go tonight. This is a completely different game. Arsenal under big pressure to get a result, of course, because Liverpool are now top of the league after their win at Burnley. It just puts the pressure on Arsenal and effectively not so much on West Ham, which is, I'm quite thankful for. We'll talk about that in a sec. Arsenal players, though, I admire and think that are doing well. I mean, there's a lot in there at Arsenal. Do you know what? We did the preview for the Man United game, obviously, a few days ago, and I said I was struggling to pick out players. I was going for the Man United players. Felt there's not many in this team. There's Garnacho, a couple of others that maybe that I quite have liked, but apart from that, there wasn't really many players at Manchester United that I rate highly and sit and think, wow, I'd love them at West Ham. But Arsenal are completely different to that. Odegaard, I think, is just a wonderfully gifted midfielder, very bit of an architect, really, and a good creator, and very, very talented. And they've done really well actually to get him, because they got him, I think, from Real Madrid, if I remember. I think it was on loan, if I remember rightly, to begin with, and then made the deal permanent. And I've got to admit, I didn't think they'd get him at that point, because if you remember around that point, I think this might have been the early Arteta days, or maybe even just slightly before that. I'm trying to work it out, but I remember this was the period when Arsenal were a little bit soft. You know what I mean? They weren't really considered. I mean, what I'm trying to say, prior to last season, there weren't many seasons before that where I'd go, oh, I think Arsenal were in the shout in the league. Or I think Arsenal are going to challenge for this, challenge for that. I was kind of thought Arsenal, they might win an FA Cup. They ain't challenging for the league, nowhere near it. They ain't going to win the Champions League, they're nowhere near it. So when our Odegaard went there, they were kind of in that kind of still in that realm, you know what I mean? Where you're a bit like, yeah, I'm not overly sold on them. But, you know, they did well, obviously, with him there, managed to keep him at the club. And I just think that the signs have been very good at Arsenal for the last period. You know, the acquisitions they've made, obviously, we talked about Rice, but they've really built a very young, talented squad. And it's just, yeah, when you go through their players, there's a lot there. There's a lot of really top draw players. Odegaard, say, being one. Saka, I mean, a brilliant player. The only chance with him, I'd say, is just his injury record. I think he always seems to have niggles and knocks all the time. And maybe I'm being a bit harsh there, but a very, very good player nonetheless. Great for England as well. Obviously, him and Bowen are kind of vying for that sort of right wing position, aren't they? But I mean, I'm happy with Bowen, but I mean, I've got to admit that Saka is a very good player. One I've always really admired, and just seems a really decent fella as well. Saliba at the back, I mean Saliba, possibly more how you pronounce it. He's brilliant, great defender. Got to be up there with the best in the league, I think. Really is an exceptionally good centre half. I think, you know, when I talk about looking at Arsenal's team, you look at that spine. I'm saying about Odegaard, Saka, you got Saliba, and then you've got Declan Rice, of course. I mean, I can't not talk about him, unfortunately. I mean, painful as it is that he's no longer a West Ham player, but it doesn't take away from the fact that he is a really solid and stunning footballer. That, I mean, makes a big difference. I mean, considering the fact that what his position is. I mean, let's get this right here. Declan Rice has always been a world-class player. Always. It has been for quite some time at West Ham. We've known it. We've all said it, and we don't need to be told it and explained it. But then there's this myth of, oh well, he's progressed, he's changed. He hasn't changed actually at all. The difference is with Declan Rice now, of course, is that he's just in a different type of team. He's now at West Ham, as we well know. We're a counter-attack side. That's what we've been under David Moyes now for quite a few years. We don't have the ball a lot. But we don't mind that. That's not a big problem for us. If our aim is to say, look, we're going to play a low block, absorb the pressure, and we're going to counter and score goals, and that works for us, fine. I've got no problem with that, really. It might not be great on the eye, but if it works, it works at the end of the day. But Declan Rice has been part of that system for quite a long time, and naturally, it means we don't really have a lot of the ball. We don't have a lot of high possession rates in matches, whereas now you've gone to a team where it's completely the opposite, where they have the ball a hell of a lot. And I just think that, and that's where his game's got to slightly shift slightly in terms of the fact that he's going to have the ball a bit more and his distribution, distribute the ball a little bit more. But let's be honest, Declan Rice has always been excellent on the ball. It's not as if he's never had this before. He's always been a very, very good player, but there's no two ways about it. There is a difference. They've made a real step up in the midfield, and he's a big part of that. As I say, Arsenal are a team I dread playing, as I say, and as much as that, you know, there are feelings, you know, that rivalry towards them. You know, just talking as a football fan, they are a really exceptionally good side, and you know they're going to be right up there. No two ways about it. And West Ham are right in for it tonight. And on to West Ham then. I mean, look, we're coming off the back of a very good result against Manchester United. 2-0, fully deserved. I mean, it could have been more, really. I thought we were excellent. Last half an hour or so, last 35 minutes, we really turned it on. We were good. But overall, we were the better side. I thought Man United were pretty toothless, to be honest, in that game. But we look good, and we've got some very good players. And that's the one thing that keeps me kind of going now. You know, even though I said earlier, I'm dreading this game, dreading this fixture, just because it's a game that we typically struggle in. It's away from home against a big side that are chasing the title. You know, these are not games that typically suit West Ham. But then when you then think, well, we have got Lucas Paqueta, we have got Mohamed Kudus, we have got Jared Bowen playing. The second you know those three are playing, plus you've got Edson Alvarez, you've got James Ward-Prowse who's in good form. We've got some Emerson, we've got some great players. We have got the quality there, do you know what I mean, to cause teams problems. It's just how we go about it mentally, I think, is the key in this. But that Man United result and performance, I would say, especially the last, second half, sort of last third of the game, will absolutely no doubt give us a nice boost in confidence, I think, going into this Arsenal fixture. And as I say, I quite like the fact that we're not under pressure. That Man United result actually alleviated the pressure for this game, because had we have said drawn or lost that game, we now would have really needed something from this Arsenal game. You're thinking, well, hang on, we're going to now be pushed down to 9th or 10th. We're going to struggle. We're going to need to get ourselves the 3 points or whatever, or get something from this game. Which I think the pressure's slightly off of us a little bit. I think we can afford a defeat. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going into it thinking, oh, who cares? And I hope or I'll expect West Ham to have that mindset. But I want us to then, in a sense, enjoy the occasion. Do you know what I mean? I want the players to go there. Let's go and cause an upset. We don't have to win this game. We don't have to feel nervous and anxious. They're the ones that should be feeling nervous and anxious. They're the ones that be thinking, bloody hell, we have to get a result here against West Ham, and these ain't easy. So that's I'm hoping West Ham will approach it. As I said, we've got the players there. We've gone through them. We have got so much quality in our squad. Like genuinely, even though I've been listing out those Arsenal players, there's not many I'd trade at West Ham. Do you know what I mean? I mean, obviously there are a few I would, but ultimately, I look at Jarrod Bowen. Would I take Jarrod Bowen at my team? No. Kudus, no. Paqueta, no. Them three, definitely not. Alvarez, no. I'd have Rice in our midfield, absolutely, no two ways about it. But I'm happy with our squad. We've got some good players. We've got players Arsenal would have. I'm sure of that. But yeah, look, it's and I think that with the team that we've got, we can cause them problems. We really can. This is a free hit for us in a sense, and I'm hoping that is our mindset. And Mikel Antonio, bit of team news, he's not in the squad. It appears he's still not ready. I'm pretty surprised about it actually, because we've been sort of told that he'd been training for a while. So for what the reason he's been still unavailable, I'm not entirely sure. We were told, if you remember, when he first got the injury, this is now coming up to nearly 7 weeks, nearly 6 weeks, 7 weeks. It was a 2-week injury. It was only very minor. He'd be out for a couple of weeks and he'd be back. So it's been a long time coming, this, and his return. And I think it's actually a blow, because we're going to need him fit, because we're going to lose Mohamed Kudus after this to the African Cup of Nations, which is a real blow. Could really do without it, but it is what it is. It's something we knew when we signed him, so we've got to accept it. It is just one of those things. Agurd's going to be the same, but I think Mavropanos actually is looking pretty good. We'll talk about our team in a minute. But yeah, I'd like to see Antonio back in, because we need to start getting him back in the rhythm. Do you know what I mean? Playing, because let's be honest, the reality is probably likely going to be that Bowen goes back on the right and Antonio goes back up front. That's going to how we accommodate the Kudus situation while he's gone. So we really need Antonio back. So I was really hoping that we'd have had him actually back for the Man United game on the bench and given him 20 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, whatever, and done the same against Arsenal just to get him back in the rhythm. But look, it is what it is. He's not available, and that is a blow. Look, this is one of those games where I think David Moyes and the players need to really understand this, and I know West Ham fans will agree with this, is that we are a club that wants to see effort, right? I'm not a deluded mad fan that expects us to win every game and gets angry. Oh, fucking hell, we lost to Arsenal. I'm not like that. I accept the fact there are teams better than us. Arsenal are a better side than West Ham, and that's why they're challenging for a title. There's no shame in saying that. It's just, don't get me wrong, they're not light years ahead of us. They're not playing fucking Barnet today. They've got, we're a Premier League side that are chasing European football. We're not in a terrible shape. We're not in terrible shape. But that being said, they are a tough game. We know that. But I'll tell you what, though, West Ham fans just want to see effort. Just go in there, give it everything. Just put your body on the line and go, look. And West Ham fans won't mind losing then. We don't mind it. When you go back to that Liverpool game, when we just roll over, you know what I mean? That's where it's not acceptable. And that's what I want to see tonight. A good squad, go out there and just fight. Give it your all. Give it everything. Because I tell you what, you can get something. As I said, we've got the quality out there. I don't mind losing a game. That's life. And at the end of the day, I just want to make sure Arsenal have to bloody work hard for it. You know what I mean? So that's what I want to see tonight. Some fight from West Ham, a bit of belief. And the fact is, we don't need to win this game. It's not imperative. It's not as if we lost this game, oh my God, it's a disaster. But go and show some fight. Do you know what I mean? Go out there and give it all. Just go out there and try your hardest to go and get something, because that's what fans want to see. Look, I'm going to go for my team in this one. It's actually pretty straightforward, to be honest. This one, I think most of us have the same. As always, though, please give your team and your prediction in. If you get the prediction right, then you go into a draw and you get something free from our shop. This is my team, right? So I've got Areola in goal. I think that's the case now. I think there's still a bit of confusion over this goalkeeper situation for me personally. I'm not still sure exactly who stands where Fabianski is. I'm guessing that Areola is now back to being the number one goalkeeper after his appearance against Manchester United. Maybe it was to do with his wrist recovery. I don't really know, but I'm going to go with Areola in goal for this anyway. Mainly for his distribution, because I think counter-attack football is going to be vital in this game. That's how we're going to be trying to attack Arsenal, and they're going to be playing a very high line. Let's be honest, they're going to have a lot of the ball. We're going to be absorbing a lot of the pressure. We need a goalkeeper that can ping the ball out fast, and that is what Areola is very good at. I've got Soufal right back. Mavropanos and Zuma as my centre-backs. I don't think Agurd's going to be available. And to be honest with you, I liked the way Mavropanos played against Manchester United. I thought he was excellent. Zuma played well as well. I quite like it. I've got no problem with changing it. So I think stick with that. Emerson as well, of course, at left-back, who's been exceptionally good for us this season. Midfield is going to be Alvarez and Souček as my two sort of defensive-y kind of midfielders. Alvarez being the main defensive, obviously, Souček slightly ahead. And then James Ward-Prowse ahead of them. I think he needs to be there. We need his distribution tonight, laying the ball off, because his front three are going to be hungry for this. So he's going to be playing more alongside Paqueta. Paqueta on the left, but sort of freedom to roam, with Kudus out on the right and Bowen in the centre. Now, we saw against Manchester United our interchange in terms of our front three, which we talked about, and we need to be able to utilise this in games all the time, because it's havoc for defence to deal with, to have to continue to change their approach. And you should be doing it throughout the game, 2 or 3 times throughout a game, is just change it up a little bit, just to throw them off, because there's no two ways about it. That was a real key reason we beat Manchester United. That shift in putting Bowen out on the right and Kudus through the centre, it just shifted, and having Paqueta come into the middle, it just changed everything, and it really can cause havoc. And look, we're not going to have a ton of the ball tonight. We're not going to be. We're going to be playing counter attack. So their defence is going to be set up pretty basic, I think, knowing that they're going to be playing high line and knowing what their simple jobs are. If you just continue to keep swapping it around, changing, it's going to cause them all sorts of problems. And we're going to need everything we can to do to cause them issues tonight, because it's going to be a very difficult fixture. Yes, that's my team anyway. So Areola in goal, Soufal, Mavropanos, Zuma and Emerson. Soufal, Mavropanos, Zuma and Emerson at the back. Alvarez and Souček as the midfield. Ward-Prowse ahead of them. Kudus on the right. Paqueta out on the left. Bowen for the middle. That's how I'd start it, with the view to interchange. Now, predictions-wise, I'm going to be honest with you. I've got 2 sides I'm going with this, right? My brain is telling me we're going to lose this game. All my natural sort of general sense of understanding of football and everything else, and my history of playing Arsenal, the fact we're away from home at the Emirates, David Moyes in charge, hasn't got the greatest record, all this sort of stuff. Everything leans me towards going Arsenal are going to win. And with that, I've gone Arsenal 3, West Ham 1, right? But there is a part of me, which, let's be honest, the heart, the claret and blue, tinted glasses are coming out, and I think we might be able to get something tonight. Just because on the basis that I think we've got the players there to do it. If we're going to win, though, if we're going to get something from this game, we've got to be really, really on it. West Ham have got to be fiercely on this game, and it's going to be very, very tough. But as I say, brain's saying 3-1, but I'm going to go with, this is my actual prediction, Arsenal 2, West Ham 2. That's what I reckon it's going to be. That's my gut. Well, it's not really. It's my heart. My brain's saying, no chance. But that's what I'm going with. I look forward to knowing what you think it's going to be. Give us your team. Give us your scores. And obviously, you enter the competition. Look, it's going to be a bloody tough game, this. We know it's one I'm not looking forward to watching. Dreading it in a way. But it is what it is. See how we get on. Come on, you ones.